Welcome to AVP's Orville Chats, a podcast for the fans by a fan. Thank you for listening and hope you enjoy. Episode 1, a new dramedy called Orville approaches. Hi guys, my name is Lisa Victoria Parker, but you can call me AVP. In case you didn't know, I am a huge Orville fan, and this podcast is basically a gift from a fan to others in this amazing community, specifically the other fans in this community. Now, in case you didn't know, that the Orville series first premiered on television on September 10th, 2017, and it was called science fiction, but it had a tiny little twist to it. It was dubbed a dramedy. Now, what exactly is a dramedy, you may be wondering? Well, we know that a comedy is obviously something that makes us laugh, and a drama is something that gets our hearts pumping and full of excitement. So, without any other conclusions, a dramedy must be, therefore, a comedy, a mix of drama mixed with comedy. Now, there's been a few science fictions that were dramedies, but nothing is specifically done as the Orville series. Let me explain why it's so masterfully done. Seth MacFarlane, the creator and executive producer of the Orville series, first takes us on the Orville when it takes place in the 25th century in New York City. And within the first few minutes, we get a little bit of drama. Now, here's the thing that's so special about the Orville series. It definitely has a very sleek, futuristic feel to it within the first couple of scenes of watching the opening credits. I mean, we've never seen a New York City that looks quite as futuristic as this one. It's got a sleek, clean look. Something that makes you wonder, is that possible? Can New York City look that fresh and clean? Can it look futuristic? But without further ado, let's go into this. Now, when we first start this show, we were introduced to Ed Mercer, and we notice that there's some giggling going on in the background when he walks into the apartment building. And we hear this woman's giggling. But before the opening credits have started their completion, we notice something. Uh-oh. It looks like Ed is married, but she's cheating on him. Ed, unfortunately, has nothing to do with her. He walks out in horror and keeps muttering the phrase, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done, before she can even explain what has happened. Now, let's fast forward to a whole year later. It is then in that year later that we get a little bit more of the comedic aspects of the show. We see a little bit of references to other science fiction and also some things that Seth MacFarlane himself has done. I'll discuss those in a future episode. But for now, let's focus on the topic at hand. Now, here's the thing. Let's pause what we've already seen in within 5 minutes. We've already seen a cheating wife. We've seen a blue alien. We've seen a sleek looking future New York. And it's all in the 25th century. Now, here's the thing. Many shows don't want to be labeled as a dramedy, and they don't want to be labeled as a comedy too early on because they know that that will define the whole show. But here's the thing. With a dramedy, you don't know what direction the show is going to go into. If it's going to go into a dramatic aspect or if it's going to go into a more comedic aspect. That's the thing that's so beautifully done about this Orville series. Because we can see a cheating scandal, we can see a futuristic city, we can also see some other comedic aspects. I mean, who would think of a blue alien that squirts out blue goo out of its head? Nobody but Seth MacFarlane could pull something as masterfully done as that. But that's the thing that's so cool about the Orville series, is that we have both of those all within just a couple of minutes. Now, as the series progresses, we see more and more of these kind of references show up more and more. We'll see some more dramatic aspects where we have to deal with the gender changing of a baby alien from a race that we've never heard of. Or we might have something a little bit more comedic where we have to deal with some of the lines that are said by some of the characters, saying, watch out for hobo clowns, or watch out for pies. Those are the more comedic aspects of the show. I mean, most people wouldn't think about Orville being solely dramatic, and we wouldn't think about it being solely comedic either. Because of the perfect mix of the two, we've got a wonderful, wonderful start to a great series. I mean, for me, I've always loved drama, but I've also loved comedy. But when I found out that this show is labeled a dramedy, it got me wondering, and I'm sure you were wondering too, what is a dramedy? A dramedy, like I said, is comedy mixed with drama. So when you hear it being called that, you really, really do see how the two are married to each other, and they married each other so perfectly, and it doesn't blur together. It just basically, they just coincide with each other, and it's like, oh, we've got magic happening here. We've got something special happening here. And so if we can have this kind of science fiction, and it's all taking place in the 25th century, where we're introduced to a whole new cast of crew, that's great. A lot of these actors that were on the Orville series, they're known mostly for other things. I think, for instance, Seth MacFarlane is primarily known for his comedic work, such as Family Guy, American Dad, Ted, A Million Ways to Die in the West. Those are more the comedic aspects. Also, his co-star, Scott Grimes, who plays Gordon Malloy, is known for his comedic aspects on American Dad. And some of his other co-stars we had never really heard of. I mean, I had never really heard of Halston Stage, but obviously she can pull this off as well. Also, Adrienne Palicki, who plays Kelly Grayson, I had seen her on the series Smallville. Now, Smallville was a drama show. And when I saw her on that show, she played a young, supposedly Kara Kent. And when I see her in this role, it's like Kelly is not dramatic all the time, but she's not always comedic all the time either. So she marries those two well as well. Also, we got Penny Gerald Johnson, who plays Dr. Finn. She marries her two roles perfectly well as well. I remember her on Deep Space Nine, and her role was a little bit more dramatic. So for her to have that mix of comedic aspects and drama again goes perfectly. Jay Lee, who plays John Lamar, he is normally known for his animation that he did on Family Guy, and he did a couple of voiceover parts on Family Guy, and I think he did some on American Dad. But like I said, no one actor is known for both the dramatic and the comedy. And for them to both go really, really well together, I think that's really superb, because not many people can pull this kind of thing off so beautifully. I mean, I was told that people weren't going to tune into this series because they were like, why do I want to tune into something that Seth MacFarlane created? I am not a fan of him on American Dad. I'm not a fan of him on Family Guy. But maybe I'll check out Orville. And that's what I try to tell people, saying, look, Orville's not just the comedic aspects. Orville also has the drama aspects. Like I said, we dealt with a gender baby's change in the first season. We also dealt with some addictions in the second season. This third season that we're waiting on, we really don't know what to expect, but we do know that it's going to be something that's going to keep us all guessing and on the edge of our seat what's going to happen next. So, like I said, if you can marry comedy with drama and do it in a masterfully way and write it really well, that's awesome. As a writer myself, I know how hard it is to mix the two, but to do this kind of thing on primetime television, and especially on a major network, that's even more difficult, because primetime television, most people's attention spans are very, very short. they don't know what to expect on a prime time because, like I said, they're wanting something either to get their mind off their busy day or their busy weekends. But when we see something like this, it sort of gets our mind off of it without being overly heavy, and it's not overly light. So, in other words, we want to make sure it's something that's going to still hold our attention, keep us happy, keep us entertained, keep us enjoying it, keep us wanting to come back. Another thing that's really, really cool about this dramedy series is, like Seth MacFarlane has said many, many times, we don't have to watch the episodes in any particular order. We can watch them, say you want to skip from episode 1 to skip to episode 20. We can do that. That's the thing that's so great about this. There's no specific timeline. But my advice to you, those of you who are wanting to watch Orville and haven't seen it, start with episode 1. That way you have a little bit of a backstory on who Ed Mercer is, who Kelly Grayson is, who Gordon Malloy is, who John Lamar is, and many, many other characters. Start with at least the pilot episode. Then you can sort of skip around from there, I think. Because like I said, this show has it all. It's got drama, but it's also got comedy, but it's all written really, really well, where you really don't think about it being one specific genre. You think of it as both. Because I've had friends that tuned in and said, you know what, I was a little bit skeptical. I wasn't sure. I didn't know what to think because I really am not into science fiction like you, AVP. I love science fiction in my own way, and I'm sort of stuck in my own little box, so to speak. But I'm willing to give it a try, and you know, they may not be a huge fan like myself, but they're willing to try it and say, okay, we got something new, we got something different. Okay, sure, why not? And even my own mother, who's not a huge Orville fan like myself, but she can recognize the characters and say, okay, I know who that is, I know who that is. And some of it will make her snicker a little bit. Obviously, she's not the fan that I am, where I will laugh and joke and then start re-quoting the lines over and over again. But you know what? That's the thing that makes this show so special, that we can all tune in episode by episode, whether it's from episode 1 to episode 20 to episode 1 to watching episode 2. So basically, my advice to you, if you guys are interested in something that's going to make you laugh but also keep you on the edge of your seat, check out the Orville series, because it's definitely a new kind of dramedy out there. It's not like other science fictions out there. I mean, I love science fiction myself, but this one, it marries so well, it merges so beautifully, that it definitely really, really is worth your watching. It's something that you can tune in. I mean, I've seen these episodes multiple times, and I'm so in love with this so much that I really, really, really cannot stop watching it. And I recommend it all the time to people. I'm sure it's almost sickening, but you know what? I don't care. It's the special show. It's something worth seeing. But I'm glad you guys also feel the same way in many, many ways, because without the community, we wouldn't be able to enjoy the things and say, hey, I like this part, I like that part, or I didn't like this part. Now, does that mean I like every single episode on the series? Absolutely not. There's going to be parts of the shows that I'm not going to like. But like I said, by and large, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tune in. I'm going to love the episodes. It's not just because of who the cast and crew are. They're awesome too. But it's also because the writing's done well, the music's done well, the costumes are done well. It's all done well. I mean, this team of actors, crew members, so many people in this amazing community, they do an amazing job. I mean, that's just understating what they do, because I've spoken to some of them. In case you guys didn't know, I have actually spoken with them, and I've actually interviewed a few of them on my own YouTube channel. And you know what, that it was so cool to find out, you know what, they have the utmost love and respect for their show creator, Seth MacFarlane. And according to the book, The World of Orville, that was written by Jeff Bond, which I highly, highly recommend that you guys check out if you haven't checked it out. But basically, according to the book, Seth MacFarlane had this idea of creating a science fiction show for ages, and he didn't know how he was going to do it. But when he pulled it off, like I said, he pulled it off masterfully. it really, really shows that Seth MacFarlane really, really loves science fiction, and he really, really wants to share that love of science fiction with all of us. And without that love, we wouldn't have a brand new series called Orville. The new dramedy, I mean, it's not on network television anymore, but when it does return to the Hulu paid for service, or even if you're overseas and you're watching it on, say, Disney Plus or some other streaming service, I would highly recommend you guys check it out. And if you guys can get the DVDs, that's great too. Check that out. I would really, really recommend that you do it, because it's really worth your watching. Because one of the things that's so special about this dramedy that I'll point out is that it's so cool that you can lose yourself for about maybe an hour watching a single episode, and it doesn't feel like it's been a single hour. I know I have tuned in many, many times, and I literally just lose myself in the story, and I just really don't think about the time until afterwards. I go like, oh, was it really that long? So that's the thing that's so cool about Orville, this dramedy. But I want to thank you all so much for listening to this podcast. I really, really appreciate you guys' love and support with this. If you're new to me, basically, like I said, my name is Alicia Victoria Parker. But for this podcast, I will be going by AVP. And this is basically just my podcast saying, hey, this is a love for the community by a fan who's saying, hey, this is my love story and love gift for you guys to give you some insights. So I'll be doing these episodes at least twice a month, hopefully, if all goes well. But like I said, these episodes are basically going to be talking about things that I've discovered about the show, things that I've learned from other fans, insights that I'm willing to share with all of you. But until the next episode, this is AVP signing off. I will give you a little bit of a teaser for the next one. The next one is going to be discussing about how old wounds and how they can seem fresh and new, even though they are called old. So stay tuned for the next episode, guys, and I appreciate you guys checking this podcast out. And my name is Alicia, or AVP, signing out. Take care and have a wonderful rest of your day. Until next time.